to our home. I'm Dr. Russ. We're in Southeast Michigan. And today what we want to share with you is hunt camp language. Well, it's very important that you know the language that hunters use in hunt camp, whether you're going there the first time or not. Hunt camp language is very, very important. But while we're standing right here, let me show you something that I put over the door of my home office. This is not just any stamp of 5 elk. This is very famous copper stamping, and it was a live photo on the front cover of, I don't know if it's Outdoor Life or Sports Afield, and it became a painting and ultimately a stamping out of copper, and I put it there. And the name of this piece of art is called The Boys' Night Out. Elk, deer are often nocturnal, and hunt camp often has boys in it. Not always. My wife joins me hunting now. But hunt camp is a time for us to get together, fellowship, have a great time. But you need to know the language. Well, let me give you an example. If I said the word, "Here comes a shooter," I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the game coming into what I consider my kill zone. This is a deer that has a good rack. It's a turkey that has a nice beard on it. It's a coyote that doesn't have a bunch of mange off of its side from a bad fur coat, from fleas, etc. So it's a shooter. It's something that I want to take, I want to eat, and I want to share with friends. And maybe just go ahead and have the fur hide tanned or hung on the wall or whatever. But it matches my expectations, so it's a shooter. Once we get to hunt camp, it could be a cabin. It could be some tents. It could be just some guys meeting and they sleep in their cars. I've participated in all of those hunt camps. Often outside the hunt camp, we have a deer pole where the deer are hanging with their front legs tied to their horns, and then that's tied to a pole, and we have them all aligned. You'll often find them also tied back at the local bar in the small towns where they get an award or prize or $50 or something. So we have the hunt camp, the hunt pole where we hang them. We also have a hunt blind. There's all kinds of hunt blinds. The small hunt blind is camo. It's on the ground. It hides you from whatever it is you're hunting, turkey, whatever. You could have a tree stand blind and be up high, hopefully over 12 feet, where we miss the deer will miss your smell, your smell from your body, and be surprised and come right into your area, not knowing you're there, because a big part of their life is their nose. And their eyes are not as good. That's why putting camo works good. But one of the things you want to know when you do camo, and this is where a lot of people make a mistake, we've got to put something on our face. Now understand that when animals go through the woods 12 months of the year, not just in the fall during the hunt season, but they're looking for predators. A wolf staring at them, a lynx, a panther, a coyote, a fox, and they're looking for those eyes, staring. So here's a guy in camouflage, and here's his face, and maybe he even has some black on his face, but his eyes are looking right at that animal. There's 2 things you want to do, or you're going to get busted. That's another term. Busted means you were discovered and they take off. It might even be a doe or a fawn that sees you, and when they take off, that white tail or whatever starts bouncing out, and everybody else leaves too, including that trophy buck that you wanted to get. So what do we do about these eyes? Definitely put some black on one eye that might be, say, horizontal, and on the other eye be vertical. And that'll be the first thing. That doubleness helps take away the attention on 2 eyes. The second thing that you would do is that when an animal comes into view, You want to kind of just look off to the side and watch this animal out of the side of your eyes, but not right at the eyes of that deer. They'll discover you and you'll be busted. Something that you don't want to do. Let's talk about, let's see, the tree blind, the ground blind. Some people actually dig a hole, foxhole, if you will, and get into that area. That helps a great deal. But that's keeping whatever you do low to the ground, and that's where a lot of animals look. Yet ground blinds like that are often used for duck and goose hunting. And then they like to pop up and shoot, but they've got a cover over the top of them. Another thing that you'll want to know is, what do we mean when we're talking about these animals? A buttonhead. What in the world is a buttonhead? Well, it's a small male deer with small little humps on each top of his head, where horns are going to come out one day. They just haven't come out yet. My dad took me on one of my first hunts. We were walking down an old railroad bed, and all of a sudden here was a fawn, a couple of fawns and a female doe. They were grazing, and when one of them moved, it was surprising how close they were to us. And the closest fawn, he just looked right up and looked right at me. And I said, and he immediately just started coming right at me, and I didn't know what to do. I just decided to make a noise like he makes. And when he got about this close to me, he smelled me, and he did a flip turn. I remember the hoofs going by my face as he did a backflip to get away. But we want to have something for scent as well, a scent blocker. Some people wash their clothes with scent blocker. And there's even battery-operated scent blockers now in blinds that you might want to try. The best block of scent is something called baking soda. If you're on the cheap, just empty about 1/3 of a box of baking soda into the wash and wash your clothes with them. And then don't put them on until the morning of camp. You might actually hang them outside your cabin and then reach for them and put them on that morning, and they'll be odor-free. Your smell can be a big tip-off, if you will. So we have buttonheads. We have deer with brow tines. A brow tine, what's that? That's these two spikes that come straight up. If we look up above me here, this white tail over here on the left, that has two spikes coming straight up from the eyes, if you will. And actually, that has one. That just has one. So he's non-typical. But that's the brow tine coming up. Why do we have non-typical deer? Maybe a brow tine falling, not a brow tine, but a horn dropping off of one side, growing downward instead of up, or only one brow tine going up, like the one above me. Believe it or not, it happened because biologists tell me, early in their life, maybe a coyote bit one of their legs in a chase, or a wolf or something. And it's interesting, the biologists tell me that when they bite, let's say the right rear leg, it's the left front that has trouble. A brow tine drops off, or there's no brow tine on the deer. So that's interesting to me, that early accidents, maybe they got their leg tied up in a barbed wire, but some accident early in life causes these horns not to be symmetrical. There's a word for you, symmetrical, or typical horns. An accident that happened earlier. Now, the brow tines, the top two that come straight up, are then joined by the rest of the horns. We call those brow tines, if you were into trophies, the measurement is meticulous, but we measure the height of them and we call them G1s. And then the next horn that goes up along that horn is a G2 and a G3 and a G4. They're measured. And even the circumference of the main beam and the circumference of those brow tines are all measured. And most importantly, the width from right side to the left side is measured to give points. So you might get in, say, the Boone and Crockett listing. Now, very few of us will be in that. I'm not in one of them. But I can tell you that I think one day we've got an organization that keeps track of that for powder guns and for bows. We don't have one yet for air guns. They just don't exist yet. But I think one day there will. And as more and more people hunt larger game with air guns, and that's happening, then we'll have an organization set up some sort of measurements there that'll be probably similar to the others. But at least you understand that's how it takes place. Note that when I say here comes a shooter, what am I looking for? Well, I often look at just the way they walk, because when they're in the woods, you can't tell a horn from a stick often. So you look at the way he walks. How is he walking? And the second thing that you do is how thick is that neck? Does and fawns don't have thick necks, but boy, those big older bucks have a big thick neck. And then once they come into sight, when you do see them, their horns are more of a box. Say, I think I could put a box inside those horns, or something round like a basketball. Well, that box shaped rack gains far more points than a basket shaped rack does. So kind of watch for those things as you decide whether you're going to pull the trigger or not on them. As you notice on this side of the foyer, I have a whitetail in the middle, and he has two beautiful brow tines coming straight up. And his rack is very symmetrical, if you will. To each side is a pronghorn antelope. And interestingly, there's 3 or 4 animals on this planet whose horns are not made of horn. They're made of hair. And a pronghorn antelope is one of them. A Cape buffalo would be another. A rhinoceros would be another. So just very few, very special animals have their horns made of hair, if you will. Well, what I wanted to make sure you understand here is, in our hunt language, is when you go hunting, the definition of the word success. Well, you want to be successful. But let me tell you, success is not bringing home a trophy. Do not expect to go out 10 years in a row and bring home 10 trophies. You'd be the first one to ever do that. So how can we make a hunt experience successful? It's because of the camaraderie, the fellowship, the good food, the things we learn, the tracking we did, some of the photographs we took, all help us remember to be even a better hunter, a better tracker next year. That's success. And you won't have a successful hunt if we have an unsafe hunt. So keep your breech open. Breech is your bolt open. And keep that gun aimed in a safe direction. Keep the ammo and the gun separate until it's time to actually be out in the woods and hunt. Speaking of success, I think one of the things you want to make sure you do is you sit there and you want to be there before the hunt ever takes place, if it's possible. I've showed up for some hunts that started the next morning in the country I didn't know, and I wasn't too successful getting a trophy in them. But if you can get in a day early, take some clippers and trim out some paths to a kill zone. You don't want twigs and stuff there to deflect a pellet. You also want to maybe hang some deer scent from a tree right there. You may want to put some more scent on the ground where they do a scrape. These are all important things that will get the buck right in the spot where you think you'll be able to kill it. You've got to be downwind. Oh, that wind can be trouble. Don't think that rain's a problem. Beautiful days can be worse than rainy days. But a windy day is your worst. And on windy days, they hunker down because they depend so much on that nose. And if it's windy, the only way to hunt then is to stalk, get up and walk very slowly into their bedding areas, into their feeding areas, and try to come up on them because they're going to stay down and wind. Well, I think those were just some things to help you know the language, be a little more successful in your hunt. And speaking of success, I want to thank all of you for watching our videos. This, I think, is 26, 27, and about 80,000 people are watching before it's over. We have almost 1,000 viewers. You might want to be subscribers. You may want to be one of those subscribers before we reach 1,000. I think it was 840 or something this morning. Check that out. And whatever you do, know that when you send in comments, I personally answer them, all in an effort to help you be air gun sharp.